On the first day of crypt, Miss Mygulov gave to me a trip to the mortuary. On the second day of crypt, Miss Mygulov gave to me 2 murderous shoves and a trip to the mortuary. On the third day of crypt, Miss Mygulov gave to me 3 lethal blows, 2 murderous shoves and a trip to the mortuary.
Merry Christmas from yours to ours here at the Bangers and Mash Show.
Christmas.
Another year is coming to its conclusion very quickly, Mr. Mash.
It is?
It is. We are fast approaching the new year.
Oh, darn.
Last year, we did a Christmas episode, a loose-themed Christmas episode. I was feeling Christmas pretty heartily last year. This year, I have no spirit at all. I'm not in the Christmas mood.
You say you're Scrooged?
I'm not in a humbug sort of mood, but the first of the month, my family and I put up the Christmas tree and decorated my home. And ever since then, I've been focusing on other stuff. We are recording this Christmas episode earlier. Last year, it was our post-Christmas episode, and we talked about things that were gifts to us. But I'm going to be vacationing the week of Christmas. We won't be able to do that this year, so we're recording this a bit early. Nobody's gotten any gifts yet or anything like that.
No one that I'm getting.
Yeah, you know one of the things you're getting, and you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I'm getting the limited edition Blu-ray set of the 1966 Batman series.
And this is the one from the Warner Brothers store that comes with an exclusive script.
It also comes with the Batman movie.
Oh, cool. Which you already own.
Which I already own, but now I have a copy that's not signed.
JD and I, and JD especially, over the course of our 3 years doing the show, have talked about our affection for the Adam West starring Batman series.
Probably my favorite adaptation of Batman. This is the one that really hits it home.
You were exposed to this as a kid, and that helped you develop your Bat fandom.
Very much responsible for the Batman can get out of anything.
That's the great thing about Batman as a character. He can be all these different things. He can be the campy Cape Crusader and the grim Dark Knight. It's a very versatile character. For a long time, the TV show was one of these holy grails of nerddom. It was always assumed that it would never get a home video release. Warner Brothers owned the characters, but Fox owned the show. There was always the schism for a long time. It was assumed that it would be something that would never get a release. So to actually finally get this on home video, or home media, whatever you want to call it, is a big deal.
This will be the third version of the series that I have owned.
You bought 2 bootlegs previously.
Those bootlegs have things going for them.
Like the TV Land trivia?
Like the TV Land trivia. The other one that I own is made from the original print, so I get to see how people with a color TV
would have saw them back in 1966.
Would have saw them back in 1966. That to me is pretty cool. It's really hard to watch, but it's really cool.
At the very least, you won't have to buy it again next time we go to a con.
Oh, right. Exactly. I'll have the definitive version until they come out with something better than Blu-ray.
The format where you can stream the media right to your brain.
What will be the next form of media?
Right now, the next form of media is media list. Everything is digital. Everything is streaming.
Yeah, but digital doesn't look anywhere near as good as Blu-ray.
I think physical media will always be around. I think there are always going to be people who want a physical copy of a movie or a TV show. In the future, that will become more of a niche thing. People will mostly stream TV and movies. The Netflix and Amazon Prime model will become the way it is. Everybody will just consume their media that way, which is not a thing I'm super happy about. I have a lot of problems with Netflix's current business model. We're nerd vomiting. We're eggnog flavored nerd vomiting. Let me just bitch a little about Netflix these days. I have been a Netflix subscriber for going on a decade now, something like 12 years. As soon as they went nationwide, I leapt on it. In the early years of Netflix, if it was on disc, you could get it.
Mm-hmm.
As the company went on, things went out of print and became unavailable, which was disappointing, but I understood that. If a disc isn't available, sure. Over the years, as Netflix has focused less on their by-mail service, the president of the company has been open about how they want to phase that out in time. They've started focusing more and more on the streaming library, and they started to neglect their by-mail service. And now, anything is even a little bit obscure is going to have a very long wait, which is a nice way of saying you might get it in 6 to 7 months. Just the other day, I had a film on my Netflix queue for a while. It had a very long wait for a very long time, and then it finally got to the top of my queue with no wait. When they were to send it to me next, suddenly it went to unavailable, which says to me they didn't realize they didn't have the disc. And then they checked and said, oh shit, we don't have this, it's unavailable, which is shoddy. It's not any sort of proper way to run a business. To me,
that's why Nerdtopia is going to have a video rental place.
I've said this to you many times. Netflix put the video stores out of business because they had a far better selection than any video store could conceivably ever have, just by the nature of it. And now that all the video stores are gone, Netflix doesn't care about selection anymore. Netflix doesn't even care about streaming movies anymore. They want to focus on streaming television, especially their original series.
They do a lot of direct-to-video movies and shit like that, which really pisses me off.
For a while, I had to digital streaming, and the selection was always middling.
They even used to have a really good anime selection, and even now, kind of dwindled.
At one point, it became difficult to rent anime off of Netflix because it seemed like they would only have a couple discs and everything else would be unavailable. So anyway, that's not Christmassy. That's just me bitching about stuff. I haven't watched any Christmas movies this December. For shame on you, Mr. Bangers. You're better than that. Have you watched any Christmassy stuff recently, Mr. Mash?
I watched A Christmas Story just Monday night.
Which I've never seen, which we talked about.
Which is probably one of my favorite all-time movies.
I actually bought that fucking thing. I intended to watch it before we record it, and I just didn't get to it.
I mean, I watch it every year. It's a tradition of mine. It's one of those rare movies that actually showcases what a family goes through at Christmas time.
Would you say that It and Gremlins are your favorite Christmas movies?
Probably. Here's the thing with A Christmas Story. A little boy who's the center of the story.
Right, Ralphie.
He wants a Red Ryder BB gun.
Yeah, I know the plot. I think everybody does.
It addresses the fact in a way that's subtle enough that kids won't pick up on it, but as an adult, you grasp what they're doing. It addresses the whole kids believing in Santa Claus thing, and then Santa Claus not being real. Spoiler alert.
We hate to break it to you, listeners, but Santa Claus isn't real.
Does that in a way that makes it entertaining for both the kid and the parent.
Christmas Story is one of these odd cases, and this happens all the time. A Christmas film will be released. Usually, it just receives a shrug at the box office. A Christmas Story was not a huge hit in theaters. But then, because the film was a disappointment at the box office, the rights to it become very cheap. Cable networks can scoop that up, and they start showing it. Slowly, over the years, through cable television showing repetition, movies that were not considered anything special at first become perennial classics. We've seen this with A Christmas Story. We've seen this with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which I've also never seen. And I think the archetypal example is It's a Wonderful Life, which was a bomb when it was released back in the 50s. Through studio mismanagement, wound up in the public domain, and because of that, it became easy to show on television. Now it's considered one of the all-time great Christmas films. And I have seen It's a Wonderful Life many times, and I actually...
Target has a colorized version.
Yeah, a colorized version of that has been released, but I'm a purist, so it's black and white for me.
Oh, God, you're such a hipster.
I'm not a hipster.
You even just used the phrase, I'm a purist. I like black. That makes you a hipster.
I am a purist when it comes to film, and I believe film should always be presented the way they were originally presented. So yes, but I care about black and white, and I care about aspect ratio. Sue me.
Okay, look, I have watched that movie numerous times in black and white. I like that movie, but I'm interested in seeing color. Not that I would prefer that version. I just would like to see that movie with the costumes and the colors the costume maker chose.
As an alternative, colorization can be interesting, but it should never be the only option. Colorizing a film that was shot in black and white takes away the director's intention. That's just me. What do you think of It's a Wonderful Life? Somebody once told me that they hated that movie because it was so depressing, which is the reason I love it. Christmas is an incredibly stressful, depressing time. Having a movie that says things aren't alright all the time at Christmas is actually a really important service.
If you dig down deep enough, that movie really isn't depressing.
Life-affirming.
Get this guy who's so down on his luck.
George Bailey.
He gets to the point where he says, I wish I was never born.
He's ready to throw himself off the bridge. What's the angel's name?
Oh, God, I don't remember.
I need to rewatch this movie now.
So do I. You have it?
Yeah, I do own it, actually.
Maybe we should watch it.
Maybe
but anyhow,
we will.
Here's what the world looks like without you.
But that plot has become a stock storyline for every sitcom.
Every sitcom, every cartoon
has done the It's a Wonderful Life plot.
Yes.
To the point where somebody really needs to make something making fun of that. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be really cruel to have a spin on It's a Wonderful Life where the reveal at the end is actually things would be better if you were never born?
I think they did that. I've seen that before.
I think they did that on Dallas, of all places. I love it that his brother's dead and his family's destitute and the town has become a den of sin. But the worst thing that happens is his wife is single. His wife has become a spinster. Ooh, that's what really gets George Bailey upset.
Running down the street, Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls!
It just warms your soul.
Let's talk about old Christmas movies. What are your opinions on Miracle on 34th Street?
I've actually never seen the original.
You've never seen the black and white original?
Yeah, well, you've never seen A Christmas Story or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. To me, that's more of a travesty because those are literally shown on 24-hour loops like every freaking year, so you have no excuse.
Let's see, what are some other... And I own stuff like White Christmas and Holiday Inn. To be totally frank, never seen them.
Never seen Holiday Inn. I've seen White Christmas.
Yeah, I've seen White Christmas years and years ago. I'll be totally honest, those old school musicals are not really my thing. Out of all the different versions of A Christmas Carol, because there are hundreds, which one would you say
The one with George
is your
C. Scott.
favorite? The one with George C. Scott from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, is really good. I'm a huge fan of George C. Scott, and he's great as Scrooge. That version is lauded for being
very close to the...
Yeah, really faithful to the text. Everybody's read A Christmas Carol, right? I mean,
even I've read it.
That's in the high school curriculum.
No, that even I've read it.
That one is good, and I like that one is also a little bit creepy. You gotta remember The Christmas Carol is a ghost story.
Now, that's a question I have for you.
What's that?
That song where they go...
There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glory of Christmases long, long ago.
Yeah. Other than A Christmas Carol, what ghost stories do people tell at Christmas time?
For a long time, I wondered the same thing. It's certainly not a tradition in this part of our country. I looked it up, and apparently it's more of a British thing. I know we have some UK listeners, so if you want to give us some feedback on this, please do.
Yes, please tell us some popular Christmas time ghost stories.
Well, I know that at one point the BBC made a tradition of showing an original spooky ghost story on Christmas. They would do a ghost story for Christmas every year, based off of short stories by respected writers of macabre fiction. Apparently it's a tradition in parts of the world, but here it's something of an anomaly. There really aren't any ghost stories associated with Christmas.
Let's go back to talk about old-timey...
Yeah. So I wanted to say my favorite version of The Christmas Carol, and I'm not embarrassed by this.
Is it the Muppet?
It's the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Because that's a good close second.
I freaking love that movie. Have I ever talked about my affinity for the Muppets?
You never outgrow them.
Yeah, most people are introduced to them as kids. For some weird reason, the Muppets have enough intelligence to them that it's okay to like them too as an adult.
They have the kiddie jokes, sure, but they also...
There's a wit there.
Here's a joke for Dad. Here's Gonzo being a little bit perverted.
One of the things I love about the Muppet Christmas Carol, meta-fictional device, where Gonzo is in the story as Charles Dickens, narrating the story, but he's also interacting with the story. There's something very subversive and clever about that.
Yeah.
I love the music by Paul Williams. Great score, great songs. Michael Caine as Scrooge is interesting because he wasn't really that old at the time. He's still the iconic Scrooge in my brain.
And out of the Muppet films that I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot of them, this is my favorite.
It has to be my personal favorite too. The original Muppet movie from the 70s is really, really good. The rest of them are of varying degrees of quality. And something that Christmas Carol story does is address the inevitability of death. There's a line reading in the film, and it's from the original book, where Kermit the Frog, as Bob Cratchit, is talking about the passing of Tiny Tim, and says, life is a series of meetings and partings. That strikes me as a profound line, and especially something to put in a movie for kids.
Yes.
Have you watched any Christmas horror films yet, besides Gremlins?
I don't own any of them besides Gremlins.
Next year for Christmas, I need to get you the Silent Night, Deadly Night box set. You'll have those gems.
We did watch the Tales from the Crypt Christmas episode together.
Yeah, we watched All Through the House with Larry Drake as the homicidal Santa Claus. One of those iconic Tales from the Crypt episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And notably, one of the few stories that were also adapted for the Amicus feature film in the 70s.
Okay.
You watched one of the Christmas episodes of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Mm-hmm. The Ghost of Christmas Past from the future. Eons ago, Christmas still sucks. I guess that's niche humor, but I love the first couple seasons of that show. It was the weirdest thing on television.
Yeah, and then Adult Swim turned into that.
Adult Swim, the weirdness is too arch these days, and it's just not accessible except to stoners in the middle of the night, which is their target audience, so I guess it's not a big deal. But Adult Swim lost their way, to me anyway, when they started showing live action shows. Sorry. I know the Eric Andre show and Children's Hospital, these have followings, but Cartoon Network shouldn't be showing live action. The Hallmark Channel started showing Christmas movies on November 1st. We have this holiday season rammed down our throats for 2 months, sometimes 2.5 months. We need something like Die Hard. We need Die Hard. We need Lethal Weapon. We need Silent Night, Deadly Night. We need an anecdote to be the perpetual deafening cheer of the holiday. Anyway, so is that all we have to say about Christmassy time this time of year? Do we want to move on to something else?
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about nerd news?
Sure.
On our loose form episodes, we inevitably end up talking about superhero movies. And we've already talked about Batman on this show.
Hey, Batman Returns. Speaking of alternative
Batman Returns
Christmas movies.
is a Christmas movie, yeah. What are your opinions on the Sony Spider-Man Marvel deal?
I hope it goes through.
Obviously, Sony's Amazing Spider-Man franchise is floundering. And I think it really says a lot about our current blockbuster-driven film economy, where a movie can make something like $600 million worldwide and still be considered a disappointment. The critical savage beating of Amazing Spider-Man 2, I feel, was somewhat unnecessary. It wasn't a great movie, but it was far from terrible. And Sony, they don't know what to do with the character.
The lady in charge, what's her name? There was an email where she says we need to focus more on Spider-Man and not his villains, not his aunt, and not his girlfriend. We don't need movies focused around them. And I feel like she's actually got the general idea.
They've already set up the Sinister Six movie, and from my understanding, that is going forward, and we'll see about that.
And she's against the Venom movie, too.
No, I don't think the Venom movie's happening. I think the Venom movie has been canned again. I think this is the third or or fourth time the Venom movie's been canned, which sounds about right. If it was 1995, maybe, but people don't give a shit about Venom anymore. For a while there was a discussion of a Spider-Man movie focused on a female Spider-Man character, and they didn't say who it was. Could have been Black Cat, could be Silver Sable for all we freaking know. But my favorite rumor, in the comics recently, Marvel introduced a version of Gwen Stacy from another universe where she lived, and she got spider powers. There was a rumor going around that Sony was going to cut Emma Stone a big fat check to get her to come back, and they were going to make a Spider-Gwen film. That made so much sense to me. Out of all of the actors in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, Emma Stone is the marquee name, let's face it, and she's great in the part. Released well, they have a whole movie revolving around her. But who knows what's going to happen now, because now there are rumors that Sony might trade Spider-Man back to Marvel. Currently, Sony just wants to give Marvel Spider-Man for 2 or 3 movies, which Marvel is not agreeing to. It's all studio political stuff right now, and who knows, I still will be very, very surprised if any sort of deal goes through.
Sony and Marvel are not... I know that they have the Spider-Man franchise, but they're trying to do a 60-40 split. They're going to get a decent amount of change.
That's reasonable, but you have to keep in mind that studio officials do not think that way. They don't want 40%. They don't want a decent chunk of change. They want all of the money.
Marvel should just say, fuck all you bitches. We'll pay you off in the lawsuit, and we're making an X-Men movie, and we're making a Spider-Man movie. We'll pay the settlement.
They probably have enough cash to do that. Eventually, a lawsuit's going to come to blows with one of these studios in time.
Probably Fox before Sony, I would think.
Say that, but the Fox X-Men movies still are popular, and Apocalypse is coming, and I think you're kind of excited for it, because Days of Future Past was good.
Days of Future Past was probably the best X-Men movie.
As with all of the superhero movies right now, I'm worried the bubble's going to burst. In addition to Sony, who may or may not continue with a series of Spider-Man films, Fox is certainly ready and willing to run the X-Men franchise into the ground, hoping to hit a whale. We've got X-Men Apocalypse, we've got a new Wolverine movie, we've got a Deadpool movie, which seems like a good idea, but really think about how annoying that character is going to get after 2 hours. Gambit movie with Channing Tatum, again, think about watching a whole movie about Gambit, in addition to who the fuck knows what else. An X-Force movie seems possible as well, in addition to everything Marvel is doing and everything Warner Brothers and DC is doing. There's a fear that the bubble's gonna burst. We, the viewers and the studios, are gonna be stuck with a bunch of movies that nobody's gonna want. Like, I don't know, let's just throw it out here. Maybe the Cyborg solo film.
That's probably gonna be the point where...
That's gonna be the breaking point.
That's gonna be the breaking point, is the Cyborg movie.
But let's talk a little bit about what DC is planning, because there's been a lot of news over the last month with the Suicide Squad film. Suicide Squad is not an A-list comic by any means. What a lot of people are saying is DC wants their own Guardians of the Galaxy. They want a quirky team movie, but the film has attracted some surprisingly big names.
The problem is, Marvel had 10 really successful movies under their belt before Guardians came out.
Yeah, they did the right thing. They made sure that the public recognized and trusted the Marvel brand name before deciding to spring an honestly kind of weird movie like Guardians, and it ended up being a massive success, currently the highest grossing film of the year.
Where the Suicide Squad, I think, will benefit is Joker and Harley Quinn.
People definitely want to see Harley Quinn on screen. It's been proven that nerds have a fever, and the only cure is more Joker. Maybe they're rushing it, which is kind of what everybody's been saying about DC. Instead of building up to a Justice League movie like Marvel did with Avengers, DC says, nah, we're basically doing Justice League next, even though I know Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice is not the actual Justice League movie. Let's face it, it's Justice League Chapter 0.
Bad as that movie could be, I think it's still going to be very successful.
Obviously, it's going to win the weekend because it's got both Batman and Superman in it. It'll make a lot of money just based on the novelty factor of that.
The DC characters they're planning on putting in this movie, with the exception of Cyborg, are well-known characters among the general public.
They're hugely iconic.
Everybody knows Batman, everybody knows Superman, everybody knows Wonder Woman. You could probably go out and ask some random person on the street, do you know any one of these 3 characters,
now,
if not all 3?
The next question is, do you actually know anything about Wonder Woman or Flash or Aquaman? Then you might get the blank stares. But people at least know those names.
Exactly. Familiarity aspect to it.
Is it going to be a strong enough film to build an entire cinematic universe off of? We'll find out. Talking about the Suicide Squad movie, what are the big names in that?
Jared Leto, Margot, what's-her-face?
The big one's Will Smith, right?
Well, yeah, but I didn't really get it right.
Will Smith is Deadshot. What do you think of that? My biggest concern is Will Smith is going to make Deadshot a Will Smith character.
My biggest concern is that Will Smith, Deadshot, is going to outshine the characters that everybody cares about.
I think Joker tends to steal the spotlight from everybody. But then again, he's played by Jared Leto, though an Academy Award-winning actor, been well utilized in certain films, seems iffy for the part, in my opinion. Margot Robbie for Harley Quinn, a lot of people are excited about that. The problem is, I've only seen Margot Robbie in two things. Pan Am, where she was terrible, and Wolf of Wall Street, where she was good, playing a very cartoonish character. And I don't know, based on that evidence, if she can pull off Harley Quinn, but we'll see. Tom Hardy's in the movie. Jay Courtney, the internet's archenemy, the latest bland, shaved head Australian beefcake actor that nobody likes or cares about but keeps getting cast in things, is playing not Captain Boomerang, but Boomerang, because the silly part of Captain Boomerang is that he's a captain. And just today it was announced that Viola Davis is playing Amanda Waller, which is cool, and certainly an improvement over the first rumored choice, which was Oprah. And I don't know if my hatred of Oprah's been brought up on the show before, but I can't fucking stand Oprah. It's all up in the air right now. Are we gonna go see the Suicide Squad movie?
Probably.
Because
we're part of the problem.
We're part of the problem. We were talking today about Fox's upcoming Fantastic Four reboot. Everything that we've heard about it sounds very, very negative. I'm not talking about Johnny Storm being black, I'm talking about everything else we've heard. We said, are we gonna see it? Probably, because we're fucking dorks.
We know that our viewers want to hear our thoughts on it.
Just the other day on Twitter, Jessica Chastain was tweeting that Jeff Nichols should direct Aquaman. A lot of people extrapolate from that to say Jessica Chastain wants to play Mira, and Jessica Chastain is one of 6 really well-known redheaded actresses in Hollywood right now. You know, she's on the short list for that part. I have no idea what a Jeff Nichols Aquaman movie would be like, but I'm intrigued by it. He's a very good filmmaker. I loved Take Shelter. I haven't seen Mud yet, but I've heard great things about it, and I'm really looking forward to his next film, which we'll be talking about in a minute.
James Cameron should direct Aquaman.
If they wanted the movie to cost $300 million, yes, James Cameron should direct Aquaman. Obviously, James Cameron, though flawed, knows what the public likes. All his movies make $1 bazillion.
It's his name.
Recently announced the director for the Wonder Woman movie. To be totally honest, can't think of her name. She's well known for doing episodes of Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. I'm going to have to give her the benefit of the doubt on that because I don't watch any of those shows. That Warner Brothers actually got a woman to direct Wonder Woman. It's in their credit. They seem to be following a model where Marvel's model is we're going to have really tight continuity between all the movies. This is an overriding universe. DC seems to be saying, let's give our iconic characters to auteurs. Love them or hate them, Zack Snyder is indeed an auteur. He certainly has an immediately recognizable style. That worked out pretty well with Batman, with the Christopher Nolan films. It's certainly an interesting time to be a fan of both superheroes and movies about superheroes.
Coming soon to theaters.
Our next episode is the Phantom Award. First episode of next year. Usually we do the Phantoms, and then afterwards we do a brief segment talking about films that are coming out in the next year that we're looking forward to. But this year I want to do it differently. I want to go ahead and do that segment now. I want to talk about 2015 releases we are excited for. Got a long list here. The first thing at the top of my list is a movie called Absolutely Anything, and this is the Monty Python reunion movie. It's also, unfortunately, the last role of Robin Williams. It's got Simon Pegg in it, which I think is probably a decent slot in for Graham Chapman. Now the movie, plot-wise, sounds odd. Pythons are going to voice aliens. Robin Williams is a talking dog. Now, this is a live-action film. This could be awful or amazing. I am a fan of that comedy troupe.
Yeah. I really like Holy Grail.
Next thing on our list here is Ant-Man. It's bizarre to think that Ant-Man is trying to become a breakout, big-hit character.
But he is. I don't know really how I feel about the Ant-Man film because it's Ant-Man.
Yeah, Ant-Man is not anybody's favorite Avenger. His powers have always struck me as difficult cinematically. Getting really, really small is not the most visually dynamic superhero ability. We'll see. There was obviously a lot of shakeups and the pre-production. I still would have liked to have seen the Edgar Wright Ant-Man, but we'll see how that develops. The other Marvel movie next year, Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Ant-Man comes out after Avengers.
Well, these are listed alphabetically, smartass.
This movie I'm really excited for.
We were both big fans of the first Avengers. The teaser trailer of Ultron singing I Have No Strings on Me really sold me. For big films like this, I always try to keep my expectations measured, just in case they suck. But obviously, we're excited for Avengers. I'm really not that interested in Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch, though I do like Elizabeth Olsen. I like her a lot, actually. Obviously, we're pumped for that. I mean, no shit.
Oh, yeah. We will probably have huge nerd boners.
Wow, you made that sound weird. Here's a weird thing. You know, we're getting a remake of Cabin Fever next year?
Next.
A millionaire needs to spend some money, and a friend has the rights to the film, so they're remaking Cabin Fever for no reason. Have you seen the trailer for Chappie, the new Neil Blomkamp film?
No.
It looks like a dark and gritty reboot of Short Circuit. It's a robot in an urban area learning moving about the world. It's got Hugh Jackman in it.
Does he speak Ebonics?
I don't think so. One of the films I'm most excited for next year is the new film from Guillermo del Toro, Crimson Peak, described as a gothic romance and a haunted house story. It has Maya Wasikowska in it and Tom Hiddleston. All these things combined to make a project I'm very excited for. Del Toro is a director that I trust emphatically at this point. I've liked all his films to varying degrees. Even his weaker films are still good. Blade 2 and Mimic are still entertaining.
Oh yeah, he did do Mimic, didn't he?
Now, supposedly, the Friday the 13th reboot is still coming out next year, but we don't really know anything about this project still, which worries me. I don't know if this one's happening or not.
I don't know. I think a found footage Friday the 13th movie is something I'm not interested in.
Well, that's the thing. We still don't even know if it's still going to be found footage or not. Such a mysterious project. Frustrating for fans of the series. Here's something. A movie called Green Room. Earlier this year, I think on our previous Nerd Vomit episode, I was raving about a movie called Blue Ruin, and the director's next film is called Green Room, and it's about Patrick Stewart as a neo-Nazi. Sounds good. I want to see it.
So what's this director's obsession with colors?
You're not the first person to make that observation. The Hateful Eight, the new Tarantino film.
Well, of course, it's a Tarantino film.
This is going to be interesting. I discussed this on our Tarantino episode back in February. I read the leaked first draft, and it is going to be interesting to see how this film differs from that draft. Yes, Tarantino, I'm excited for it. Typically, it has an excellent cast. Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Bruce Dern, Tim Roth. Definitely pumped for Hateful Eight. This is interesting. Ty West, primarily a horror director. He's making a Western with John Travolta called In the Valley of Violence. And this is one of 4 notable Westerns coming out next year. Jane Got a Gun, which has had a very troubled production, starring Natalie Portman. Michael Fassbender's in a film called Slow West. And the one that I'm really interested in is a horror Western called Bone Tomahawk, starring Kirk Russell. It's basically cowboys versus cannibals.
Cool.
Any thoughts on the Jon Favreau mocap Jungle Book?
Stupid.
Seems like a terrible idea, but then you read Bill Murray as Baloo the Bear and Christopher Walken as King Louie. And now you're interested a little bit, aren't you?
I am for Christopher Walken being King Louie. You see this banana? Your father carried this uncomfortable piece of fruit.
A big thing whose trailer hit recently and made a pretty huge splash was Jurassic World. Jurassic Park as a franchise has always been a bit uneven. Really, there's only one good movie there, but this one, I'm pumped for it. I'm pumped for Jurassic World.
Chris Pratt riding with
Riding
domesticated velociraptors.
The mosasaur, the giant marine reptile. Oh man, that's something I've been wanting to see for a long time. Sure, the plot, oh hey, we genetically engineered a monster. Oops. Does that make any sense? No, of course not. Who cares? This is a case of coulda, not shoulda, alright? Before Hobbit, we saw the trailer for the next Mad Max film, Fury Road. You're not really a Mad Max fan, are you? I don't think you've seen any of the movies.
Pretty much that's the case.
I'm a big fan of the first 2 Mad Max films. Beyond Thunderdome, not so much.
We don't need another hero.
Nice. Fury Road has been in development so long that Mel Gibson was actually a viable movie star. Now, Tom Hardy is playing Max, but the trailer looks pretty awesome. Real cars smashing into other real cars, exploding and flipping around.
With real explosions.
Yeah, I was hesitant because George Miller spent about a decade in Happy Feet land. Really didn't know if he could still do Mad Max, and I guess we still don't know. But I am now excited for Fury Road, I gotta say.
Looks like a good 80s action movie.
Yeah. The next Jeff Nichols, Michael Shannon team-up is a film called Midnight Special, which we don't know very much about, but he's described it as a 80s-style John Carpenter science fiction film. Right there, I'm interested. Mm-hmm. What about the remake of Poltergeist?
I don't know. Sam Rockwell? No.
Sam Rockwell starring in it. It's being produced by Sam Raimi. It's being directed by...
Oh, it's being produced by Sam Raimi?
It's weird. A Sam Raimi movie is still a somewhat exciting proposition, but a Sam Raimi producer's credit makes you back away and go, I don't know about this, guys. The main issue is, does Poltergeist need a remake? And the answer to that question is no. What, are the ghosts going to come for Carol Ann's iPad? Here's a film that really intrigues me, and I'm going to go on about why. It's a movie called Repression, and this is a film about the satanic panic, satanic ritual abuse hysteria. Listeners from more, shall we say, enlightened parts might not have any familiarity with this, but in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, there was this conspiracy theory in the hard Christian right community that Satanist organizations were real and had infiltrated our schools and churches and daycare and were secretly performing satanic rituals on children, usually in the form of sexual abuse. And the idea is that these kids had repressed these memories and they would perform psychiatric treatment on them to make them remember these memories. Now, of course, all of this is bullshit. None of this, there were no satanic cults, there was no satanic abuse. It's all nonsense. It was all basically made up by one crazy woman who wrote a book about it, and the public ran with it. But the ironic thing about it, people who were ostensibly trying to help children overcome trauma were essentially traumatizing them into believing that these horrible, horrible things had happened to them when they hadn't. For a long time, I've been wanting to see a movie about the satanic panic because it's fascinating to me. I remember it. I remember going to daycares as a young child and having my my crazy Christian grandmother say, don't let the Satanist touch you in the swimsuit area. Unfortunately, this movie is a autumn release starring Ethan Hawke.
Next.
Really gives me impression that they are not going to explore this topic in the way that it needs to be explored. The biggest release next year, which is saying a lot because there are a lot of big releases. Star Wars Episode 7. And I'm not even that big of a Star Wars fan. I'm about as casual as you can get. It's an event. It's the first Star Wars movie in a decade. And a lot of people are very hopeful that it will be the first good Star Wars movie in several decades.
Hold on now, just a damn minute. Those first two in the prequel trilogy, are just complete and utter bullshit. But I go to bat for Revenge of the Sith.
You killed younglings? Let's talk more about the new film. What are your initial thoughts on Episode 7, The Force Awakens?
The freaking lightsaber with lightning going around it.
Is that practical, though?
Who cares?
We still know very little about it. The Empire is still around in some capacity. Luke and Han and Leia are all back in some capacity.
Apparently Luke has been missing for 20 years.
That's
the going rumor.
That is the rumored subplot, that this movie is basically the quest to find Luke Skywalker, who has gone into hiding.
The quest for Luke.
Yeah, the search for... Well, it can't be the search for Spock. Looking for Luke doesn't really have the same gravitas to it. The main female character, which we see in the trailer, is assumed to be the daughter of Princess Leia and Han Solo.
The other going rumor, which I don't know how I feel about it, honestly, Luke Skywalker, the reason he's been missing for 20 years is because he's been in hiding, because he's grown so powerful with the Force, can't even sleep without forcing things.
Yeah, this is the rumor I've heard as well. I guess we'll find out. It's all really conjecture at this point. Darth Vader's going to be back in flashbacks, at the very least, right? He's going to be in the movie somehow, yeah?
Probably.
Yeah. JD's a much bigger Star Wars fan than me, and when the new one comes out, pretty much guaranteed that we're going to do an episode about Star Wars. Look forward to that in literally a year. Here's some horror movies coming out next year. 31, the new Rob Zombie movie that he put up on Kickstarter. You have no idea what this is about? Well, apparently the plot is something like kids trapped in a carnival on a Halloween where killer clowns are trying to kill them, and it's some sort of a Running Man scenario where they're being pursued, and it's something like a game show. See, to me, it really sounds like Rob retreating to his comfort zone. Lords of Salem was a little different than his usual sort of movie, and this sounds like the next Rob Zombie movie. Burying the X, this is the latest from Joe Dante. A movie called The Hollow, which might be a new little monster movie. Something about evil fairies. A film called Hellions, supposed to be about evil trick-or-treaters. It Follows is a movie that's been getting a lot of press on the festival circuits. It's about a girl who has her first sexual experience. Unfortunately, her boyfriend has passed on a supernatural STD, where now she's being pursued by an evil spirit, and it can only be passed on through intercourse. And it's supposed to be very frightening. It's been getting a lot of positive reviews.
This is an interesting concept.
It is.
It's something we haven't really seen in horror, which is hard to find these days.
Indeed. Last year, on our Christmas episode, we talked a little bit about the tradition of the Krampus, and Krampus has really been making ingrounds in pop culture. Next year, there's going to be at least one Krampus movie, and it's from Michael Dougherty, who made Trick or Treat, which is well-liked, and it seems to be in a similar spirit. The film's called Krampus, and the idea is it's going to be an anthology-style film like Trick or Treat, but set around Christmas instead of Halloween. And I'm always up for Christmas horror movies. This sounds pretty cool.
Well, of course. You like Krampus more than you like Santa Claus.
Maggie is the Arnold Schwarzenegger versus zombie movies, so you know I'm excited for that.
Well, we're seeing that.
Hey, M. Night Shyamalan has a new movie coming out next year.
Let's skip it.
What We Do in the Shadows. This is a mock documentary about vampires, but it's a comedy. A group of old ancient vampires turn some frat boys, and the frat boys do a very bad job of hiding the secret, and it looks hysterical. It's from Jermaine Clement of Flight of the Conchords. Very excited for this one. Movie called White God coming out. It's a Hungarian film, and it's about dogs revolting. Okay. It's an anthology film called XX, and this is a horror anthology with all female directors. I believe Mary Lambert of Pet Sematary fame, Mary Herron of American Psycho fame, Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter, and then the woman who directed Jennifer's Body are doing the segments in this. I wish the lineup of directors was a little better. And it is interesting to see that horror anthologies continue to be a popular thing in the indie scene. This year we had a new VHS, a new ABC's of Death. Those franchises may or may not continue. These director-focused anthology horror films are still rolling out. It's a neat trend.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And a Happy New Year.
Can you believe that we are going to be going into our 4th year of existence?
Oh, my God.
This was a good year for the Bangers and Mash show. We broke 50 episodes. Did you ever think we'd make it to 50?
No, we did 24 episodes this year.
We actually made our goal. And I wish we could say we made our goal of 2 episodes a month, but we didn't, because we only did 1 in January, and then we did 3 in May for our Godzilla quadrilogy, which is still, I think, our crowning achievement. Real happy with how those episodes turned out.
Oh, that's a Christmas thing we forgot to mention.
What? what?
The El Rey channel
The El Rey channel, which is something we have here,
is doing a 30-movie Godzilla kaiju marathon for Christmas Eve.
and when JD found this out, he actually jumped up with excitement. Back in the day, Sci-Fi Channel, back when Sci-Fi Channel was still really good, used to do Godzilla marathons on Christmas. Damn it, I'm gonna be spending time with my stupid family and I can't watch Godzilla movies with my best friend instead.
My mind was blown.
You actually jumped up and down in excitement.
I did. I'm not even going to deny it.
What's a better Christmas wish than that?
How many times have we said, I really wish they would do that again? Mm-hmm. And by God, Robert Rodriguez answered our...
It's a pretty cool network, I have to say. We have certainly made inroads in our fan base. Thank you, as always. I know we do this every episode, but really a sincere thank you to our regular listeners, to Lee, to Lloyd, to Walt, Jarrett, to Tony. Thank you guys. Thank everybody else who I didn't... Everybody on Facebook, everybody on my blog, everybody on YouTube. Thank you guys.
Don't be afraid to grab your friend and be like, hey, listen to all 50 of these videos and like them all. And then go on Facebook and like their Facebook page.
Well, that's kind of an aggressive way of saying, yes, please do share the show with your friends, if you know people who enjoy it. I know podcasts I listen to, people have called in and written in and said that this is the only place where I get to hear people talk about the stuff I like. And maybe that's the case with some of our listeners, I don't know. Thank you so much, guys. Hey, here's to another year of Bangers and Mash, to another 50 episodes. You haven't heard The Last of Us, that's for fuck sure.
Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Solstice.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Solstice, and hey, Happy Holidays to people who don't celebrate anything. We've all been there. Here's to another year, and here's to the year gone.
May all acquaintance be forgotten. Oh God, we should end this with the Tales from the Crypt, Old Lang Syne.
Oh God. Okay, we will.
Though old cadavers tend to rot, they're all good friends of mine. I throw a party New Year's Eve for stiffs of every kind. Dead kings and queens and movie stars and politicians too. They all are SVP for my outrageous New Year's do. The champagne flows and bubbles pop. Capote hugs Babe Ruth, while Lincoln does the bunny hop with actor John Wilkes Booth. J. Edgar Hoover's having fun, but causing some to stare. He showed up in Ginger Rogers' gown and waltzed with Fred Astaire. Richard Nixon's here this year, and he's adjusted well. He just announced he's running for Vice President of Hell. But Elvis Presley came and went. He had to get to bed. He says it really wears him out, not knowing if he's dead. And old John Wayne is still a duke. He swaggered in, of course. He punched up Stalin, Genghis Khan, and Wild Bill Hickok's horse. Hey, look out, folks! There's JFK romancing Jackie O. And here's Onassis walking in with Marilyn Monroe. You know what makes this bash so great, kiddies? It's the one party that everybody shows up at, eventually. I tell you, creeps, we're not getting older, we're just getting deader. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year! Should old cadavers be forgot and never brought to mind? There'll be a new batch every year with stiffs of every kind. There'll be musicians, businessmen, and Hall of Famers too. They all are SPP for my cadaver